McFarlane stops to check under the hood. Here's your look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, the McFarlane Gold Label Collection, Red Hood Unmasked. Red Hood is a name and identity that has been used by various heroes and villains over the years. The current and best-known Red Hood is Jason Todd, a fierce hand-to-hand combatant and vigilante crime fighter who was once Batman's second heroic apprentice called Robin. He has a complicated relationship with both his former mentor Batman and the original Robin, Dick Grayson. Just before we get a closer look at Red Hood Unmasked, how about we first figure out how tall the figure stands? Sounds like a good idea, everybody? All right, we can all agree on that. I'm going to grab my ruler here just off camera. I'm going to bring that in. It also helps probably if I have it facing the right way. I'm going to put it right to the very top of his head. Now, while the figure isn't 7 inches tall, he certainly isn't 7.5 inches either. Let's meet somewhere in the middle and say that Unmasked Red Hood stands at about 7.25 inches in height, which translates to being the figure about 18.5 centimeters tall. And of course, this figure, just moving him over, happens to share the same body pretty much with this figure here. This is the regular Red Hood that we got released before. There is differences that have been made between the two bodies. You'll probably notice, you guys are very observant viewers, that the one that has the hood also has holsters on the sides of their leg. Oh, his leg. They've removed those for the unmasked version. To be fair, really, the figure doesn't come included with pistols anyway, so it'd be only more of a tease just to have those holsters there, not actually have something to holster on the side. And of course, the big difference between the two, the very obvious one, is the fact that the original Red Hood that we got before actually does have a red hood, living up to his namesake. Gonna get my sneakers on now as we run through the accessories to come included with the Red Hood. That's terrible. Starting first, though, the figure comes included with a display stand. Psst, sizzled with the DC logo down below. It is, yes, the same display stand as we've got released previous times before, but again, I appreciate the fact that we get companies like McFarlane Toys that still continue to use display stands. Even if you don't decide to display your figures with stands, just appreciate the fact that they are there on the ready if you need them. I actually got like a little stack of stands off to the far side here where I can just pull them on the ready. So it comes included with that. The figure also comes included with a trading card. The trading card, once again, uses figure photography, slightly dark, so it's a little hard to kind of make out what's going on here. Luckily, he's got a flaming sword to sort of light up the way around him. He's a little, sort of like Rudolph, lighting the way. Batman's like, I needed you all along, Red Hood, with that flaming sword of yours. Flip it around to the back. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you much in the way of stats, just only his name and a little small paragraph I just happened to read at the beginning of the review. I didn't come with that up the top of my head or anything like that. So he comes included with a trading card. Still, again, I miss sort of using the source material, but anyways, the figure comes also included with a crowbar. Now, the crowbar seems like it's molded here and painted silver rather than actually using silver plastic. I could be wrong by that, but it almost looks the way it's caked on like this, that actually was used silver paint. It's not molded. It could be. I mean, the way it bends like this, it could easily also be silver plastic. I don't really think you can get a silver. I'm spending too much time talking about whether this is silver plastic or not. Maybe it is. Maybe it is, because we do have the swords, and they look like they're also molded of the same plastic. Very pliable plastic. You can take then the crowbar, and you can fit it into either one of his hands. Quite easy, actually, as well. Just slide that into place. And again, because he doesn't have pistols, he doesn't have holsters on the sides. But I guess if you wanted to, you really could use a pistol that came included with that first release Red Hood. The figure also comes with a pair of swords as well. Not identical, though. While the hilt, the guard, and the blade seem identical, you can probably already see the difference between the two. One is a flaming sword. Not only have they sculpted the flames to the side of the sword, but they also have airbrushed some additional paintwork on there, getting really dark red up the top, progressively going to orange, before progressively going off to yellow. I like the look of that. Is it also just me, and I'm going to hold both of them up? I guess I could easily just hold one of them up to show you. This one also is a slightly warped sword. Does it also bear some of a slight resemblance to the Sword of Omens, Lino's sword of choice? The only thing that's missing, actually, is the Eye of Thundera in the middle. Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. kind of looking more like a modernized take of the Sword of Omens. Maybe, again, I'm the only one that sees that. It's made of, again, softer plastic. Maybe, again, it is silver plastic. And you can take those. Let's just remove, put that to the side right now. You've had enough time in the spotlight there, Crowbar. We're going to go ahead and put the swords in his hands. Now, the texturing, the way that they've contoured the hilt like this, it's a little more difficult to get into his hand because you're dealing with a broader handle, essentially. But again, you're just going to wiggle this in between his fingers. If you're having any difficulty, by the way, you can also heat the hands up in hot water and then just get the blades in his hands like that. One thing that works well to his favor is the fact that, you know what, let's move it a little bit further up. We're not doing so well in the basement. Let's move up to the second floor and see if we do a little bit better. I didn't have so many issues with this before, and of course shooting this now, hitting the record button, I seem to have problems galore. There we go. Moving it up to the second floor, it fits fine into his hand. You can do the exact same thing on the other side. I don't want to eat up the entire review, just trying to put the blasted swords in his hands, but again, it's just to more show you than anything else. I shouldn't have also used so much moisturizer today. These hands are supple and soft, but it makes things so difficult trying to get the weapons into his hands. More information I'm sure that he really needed. But anyways, you can see that he does have the swords in his hands. It probably looked a little awkward with his arms bent, like with not bent. Let's bend those arms right there. There we go. It's neat. I kind of like that. It looks a little weird, though, to be fair, that he only has one sword that's flame on like this and the other sword isn't. So I probably will just choose to pick one of them and then leave the other one on its merry little way to do something else. Maybe I might even just use that sword with like Azrael or something like that. I think that might be fun. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the swords out of his hand. I spent so much time. How much time did I eat up in this review? Somebody can tell me down below, just trying to put the swords into his hands. Let's get a closer look now at the figure. I'm happy with the head sculpt, first of all. I think if you're going to be getting as an unmasked Jason Todd, I think this fits that bill quite well, actually. I like also the styling of the hair. It reminds me very much like Terry McGinnis, too. I guess really, you could also pop this head sculpt off and use it with your Batman Beyond if you want to get that Terry McGinnis unmasked look. Because I think like the head sculpt could work for that. The paint is pretty good on the face. Clean, I must say, also around the eyes. There's a little bit of reflection off to the corners there. That's a nice touch as well. It also seems like it could be just the way they've painted it, that there's just like this little line right there. It almost looks like a tooth sticking out. I'm sure it's not. It's just the way it was painted. Really happy with the head sculpt, though. The problem with the head sculpt, though, this is one thing I'll talk about for the figure, and I'm going to bring in the other one for a good comparison of the two. Because the other one had the original helmet, you can see the difference between the two. How would we be able to tuck so much of that hair inside of a helmet? That would be pretty tight. But anyways, though, looking at the two figures, remember these arms. Now, these arms were pretty bare, and I may have even said it when we did the review of this Red Hood, that the arm's skin color seemed a bit yellow. Well, it wasn't so much of an issue because you only saw really, you didn't compare it to anything really because he had the helmet, right? Well, now that we have this one here, because he does have a skin tone here actually visible on his face, you can then really see, I'm going to bring his arm up, how much different the arm color is to the face. I'm not sure why they had to go the so stark yellow like this instead of not just trying to match the coloring of his face. It's the only thing that's really jarring on this figure is the fact the coloring on his arms don't match the coloring of his face. And you even see, even more so, how yellow the skin is on his arms. It really is the only problem I have with this figure, and I wish that they could have gone and corrected the color to match the face. As for certainly the rest of the figure's body, it's pretty much using the same jacket and same under torso as the original Red Hood. Softer plastic, of course, being used for the jacket. He's got the sleeves rolled up, which have been sculpted in. They seem like they're almost separate pieces, and I guess they would be because there's articulation here at the top of the rolled cuff. There's also double hinge on the elbow, but we'll talk more about that in a second. I really like the detailing done to the torso. You've got the raised emblem there of the Red Hood. I always was a big fan of this kind of logo. Very simplistic, but very much still look like Batman's logo. Really nice color of red that they also used for that. I guess we could also bring in the original Red Hood so we can do a couple more comparisons. I noticed like the buckle as well as the little side squares of silver seem more muted here on the unmasked version than what we got with the masked. Of course, this one does have the holsters. This one is gone without the holsters because he doesn't have the proper guns to hold it anyways. And again, when it comes to the legs seem identical to one another. So really, when it comes to it, it's only the difference of really the head sculpts and then, yeah, the missing of the side holsters for the figure. Spin around to the back so you can see the detail work that they've done to the jacket. Again, I really like the sculpt of the jacket. The high collar also works quite well for the figure too. And really nice additional texturing that they've also added again to the body. So let's talk a little bit about the figure's articulation now. The head rotates all the way around. Even though he has the higher collar, at least it's softer plastic, so it doesn't get in the way of things. I also really like the sculpting on the neck there as well. Does it look like a zipper? It seems like a zipper to me. And again, you can rotate the head all the way around. The head goes up, down, back, and back and forth this way as well. As for the arms do come out at a full, comfortable 90-degree angle bend. You can then take the arms and rotate them all the way around. Looked at already, he has a swivel, but the swivel actually isn't underneath the cuff of the sleeve. Rather, it's actually the cuff itself. So that rotates all the way around. The figure has a double hinge on the elbow. Has articulation in the hand. Now, in this case, like the original one, the glove is sculpted to the top piece. Like this isn't articulated. It's simply just rotating. It's only pegged in place like that. Which I guess also, too, when looking at the figure, the hands naturally curve inward as opposed to being able to just be straight out. And again, there isn't any articulation. It's just part of the glove part here. Figure has an upper torso ball joint. It's kind of hard to see there for a while. It was hiding. It's actually the top section of his abdomen. That's the part that articulates. And the figure also has bottom articulation right around here as well. Legs split out, a nice ratcheted joint there. They go forward, and they go back, of course. Swivel mildly at the top there, but more so he has a double hinge on the knee. And no articulation here on the boots. But he does have at least foot articulation that goes back and forth this way, an ankle pivot, and the figure also has toe articulation as well. Again, it could be a case really where this figure could have been released with two head sculpts. Not everybody, I'm sure, is probably going to be displaying their Red Hood unmasked. Just get the leg popped back into place there. The ankle just almost gave way there for a second on me. There we go. But yeah, I mean, if some people may not be inclined to get their Red Hood with, you know what, let's get a display stand going. I almost feel like he's treading cautiously on falling over. There we go. That's going to make things a lot easier. Yeah, if you already had this figure here, you probably would be fine just to stick with that figure if you wanted only just the Red Hood helmet. But I do like the option available here with the Gold Label series that you did now get the option to get this guy unmasked. The unmasked head sculpt looks really good, honestly, on this guy. And he also could have also used this head sculpt for Terry McGinnis, although they probably will have to tool it slightly a bit. I think the hair could probably keep as well as the eyes. Maybe just give him a different expression in the mouth area, and they could probably even reuse that for a Batman Beyond unmasked. Like the look of Red Hood. Again, if you like your Red Hood, though, with the helmet, you may just decide to stick with this one. But I do like what they've done here with an unmasked head. I just wish it was the same color as the sleeve skin, or I guess his arm skin. It's not quite the sleeves, because the sleeves are rolled up. I'd like to consider myself a big DC Multiverse fan, but I wouldn't put myself in that category of being a die-hard fan of DC Multiverse, that I'm going to get every single color variation of figure that McFarlane's team puts out. While I did pick up an Injustice 2 Flash, for example, the likelihood of me getting that white repaint is slim to none. But then when you get figures like this, where you have unmasked head sculpts, well, this is a different category, kind of a grayer area for me, that I may treat it like a figure per figure basis. I already had this Red Hood, for example, and now we just got recently the DC Rebirth Red Hood. Did I really need necessarily another Red Hood? Well, seeing this one in my local comic book store, I finally pulled the trigger and decided to pick this one up because I thought the head sculpt was too good to pass up. I might even just consider yanking this one off the ball joint, which I really should have tried, actually, to see if it fits with the Batman Beyond body. I'm sure at some point we are going to be getting ourselves a Gold Label version of Batman Beyond Unmasked, but I feel like this head sculpt also could work really well for Terry McGinnis. The body is going to be the same, this one, of course, to the Red Hood that we got before, minus, of course, the holsters, because this one doesn't have guns included. It's kind of a disappointing thing that they don't include guns, it seems, anymore with their DC Multiverse releases, but at the very least, you get some bonuses thrown in there that weren't included with the original Red Hood, like the Flaming Sword of Omens. And a regular Sword of Omens. It's not really the Sword of Omens, but it kind of looks like the Sword of Omens. Give me sight beyond sight. Anyways, though, what do you guys think of the Red Hood Unmasked? If you already have Red Hood in your collection, the one that with the hood, would you go with the one that also is unmasked? Just gonna throw that out there to you, the viewing audience. Let me know down below. Would you get the unmasked Red Hood if you already have the original one? Of course, if you are new to this channel, you're enjoying, I hope, the content that you've been seeing here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. If you haven't already done so, make sure you turn on the bell notification again, if you haven't done so. And make sure, yeah, you're coming back here because we are going to be looking at more DC Multiverse reviews coming up in the not so distant future. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.